So I saw somebody's post that was talking about having a psychotic episode involving synchronicity. And here's what I found about time. When you were saying timelessness, you felt like time didn't exist, right? Well, as far as our concept of time, the only thing that exists as far as our concept of time is synchronicity. So your awareness was simply something of a more exaggerated or a more illuminated awareness of something that you're looking at right there, right? One of the things that has helped me as an individual with sensitivities, right? I can become very hyper-focused on issues, thoughts, theorems, stuff I see on television, science fiction stuff, and I go apeshit crazy. And one of the first things that I ever went apeshit crazy over was matter and time, right? Matter, time, space, mass, volume, chemistry, biology, chemistry and the sciences really got to me. And then I was also a musician. I loved music. And as a musician, what you start to, like, if you get really bent on music and playing music and creating music, one of the very key things is timing, right? So if you're looking at a clock, you're looking at the clock behind me, right? Each minute is a combination of what we refer to as 60 seconds. So within 1 minute, there is 60 seconds, right? Within 1 hour, there are 60 minutes, right? Within a full day, there are 24 hours, right? 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, right? And if you look at that as a basis for your what they refer to in music theory as a subdivision of time, or your foundational subdivisions, right? Or the things that you work off of as far as like what you're adding on top of that. When you start dividing and subdividing time, as in time signatures, which is all we really currently have an understanding of, is a time signature. So this is somehow more relevantly understood as a time signature. So you have 60 beats per minute. That's if you're going minute by minute, right? If you're just tracking minutes, you're looking at 60 beats per minute. Why? Because there are 60 notes, as in 1, 2, 3, the seconds. You're counting the seconds. As you count the seconds, that is 1 beat, 2, 3, 4. Now, how can you subdivide 60 beats per minute, right? Which is basically 1 minute of constant, like eighth notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 60. 60 divided by what? So you take 60 and you divide it. If you take 60 and you divide it by 2, you've got 30, right? So can you take 60 beats per minute and make it feel to the ears and to the mind to be 30 beats per minute? How can you do that? Layering. Your drummer can be playing the same song as everybody else, right? You get a guitarist that's playing not at 60 beats per minute. If his music has been scored for him and written for him and say 120 beats per minute, which is twice as fast as 60 beats per minute, he's going to be playing something that fills in more spaces, covers up more spaces. But if the drummer is at 60 beats per minute or 30 beats per minute, you get this illusion that the song is slow. The song takes the same amount of time to play through as it does when it was recorded. So if you got a song that's 3 minutes and 45 seconds long, guess what? That 3 minutes and 45 seconds is really 60, 60, and 60, and then 45 seconds afterwards, right? If your drummer is playing at 120 beats per minute, the guitarist could probably take that and say, I'm going to play 60 beats per minute. And then when you get good at it, and you can wander away from what they refer to as your standard time signatures. So you've got 60 beats per minute, and how are you playing that? You're playing it in 4/4, right? 4/4 is your standard song formulation. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's what kind of gives each song its ground and foundation to kind of play around with. It gives you the sense of style, it gives you a feeling. Something that's happy may feel one way simply because it's played at a certain beat per minute. That's your subdivision. So you've subdivided time. You do that enough, which is what we all do. Every morning you wake up with an alarm clock. Guess what? You're clocking in to 60 beats per minute. Depending on what you play in your head, right? Whatever it is that you're listening to, that gauges your awareness for the entire span of the day. So your attention span may go and spin off, and they say time flies when you're having fun. Well, at 60 beats per minute, if you're having fun at 60 beats per minute, guess what? Your awareness and enjoyment of that 60 beats per minute is going to be specific to, it's your own personal enjoyment and the talent that you use and the notes that are being played. So is the song pleasant? If it's pleasant, it does one thing or the other. So your environment is sort of like the other instruments, right? And that's the sheer reality of it, is that your environment, every noise that you hear, every little bird that flies by that you don't catch until it's right there, that is all that's the other instrumentation. So there's other instrumentation that, quite frankly, the stuff that usually catches us off guard and makes us feel weird and like we're having some sort of ethereal moment, is the stuff that happens when you're outside in nature and you hear all the birds and there's that. And see, that came right by as I was completing that thought, as I was having the thought about it. That's synchronicity. Normally, some people do get fed up with that. They think that car has somehow delivered the message, but it's just synchronized at the right time because your brain is either dependent, interdependent, or codependent upon predetermined subdivisions. If your brain is stimulated in a certain way, especially with psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin, they have an effect on a part of the brain that recognizes like the amount of time, the expenditure of time, the length of time, your experience of time. So 5 minutes on a psychedelic, depending on how you're thinking about things and where your brain is at, like you get stuck on something that's already stuck in your head. The drug is just showing you that that's where it's at. Like you've got some sort of stagnant issue inside your head. Those types of things happen. If it feeds back on you and you don't have anybody to help you, guide you through that, guess what? You get constipated. Your brain gets a little foggy, gets fucked. And then you start going to people like, hey, help me out with this. I'm like, you're psychotic. But they're not. Having the awareness or the reality or the understanding that time doesn't exist. Physicists have already just come out and said time as we know it, as we thought we understood it, doesn't exist. We have a principle, we have a signature that we follow. We have an expression of beats of music, which is all it is. It's a subdivision. It's your standardized subdivision for your general everyday being. You get up 8:30 in the morning, you got to be at work at 10, right? So within that 2-hour period, right, or hour and a half period, you are set to a specific clock. Take a metronome, get a metronome app, put some earplugs in. And one of the things that they say is that if you sit in a room, one of the things that I used to do when I was having my most disorientated and kind of dissociative schizoid type episodes, one of the most beneficial things that I ever did was I refused to give in to it, right? I would preoccupy myself. It was like a test. I would go out into public. I'd have a fidget thing, more of a symbolic thing, not just a spinny fidget. I would have like a quartz stone just for that little tiny bit of extra thought and meaningfulness that goes into the understanding of quartz crystals and their ability to retain low frequency energies, similar to the human body, right? So I'm there focusing on that. I'm having that in my hand. Sorry, I farted. It happens. And I would fidget with it. And one of the things that I would do was I started counting, at just some point in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, right? And if you start at, like you can look at a clock. If you utilize a clock, it kind of puts you in that little center space where people are already functioning, right? The world around you is operating based off of some type of awareness and atonement and alignment to 60 beats per minute. If you're looking at a clock and you want to change the way, look at it from the perspective of beats per minute, and here's how you count 6, 8. Now watch what happens to your awareness of the ticking of the clock. Ready? We're going to start here at the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you do that, you'll notice that counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 4 on every time that clock moves a second hand, you'll notice that there's a lag over. You're never really there. You're never on beat, or the downbeats and the upbeats. If you're a drummer and a musician, you'll start to understand that. So maybe get into music a little bit. Take a music theory class and understand percussion, time signatures, polyrhythms, synchronicity, synchronization. These are musical terms, and musicians, yes, we go crazy over shit like this. Like, this is stuff that brings us to the edge, and instead of freaking out about it, we pick up a guitar. One of the things that has most definitely helped me as an individual with sensitivities is a musical instrument, something that I can make a noise with, something that I can interact or break away from the environment around me, keep myself standardized to my own understandings. Not that you should go running around trying to, break into people's houses or anything like that, which is why I was thinking if you do psychedelics, you should probably do them in nature, like far away, or at least far enough away from normal society so that you're not fucked up by them and they're not fucked up by you, right? Because the last thing you want, or the one thing that you don't want, because you do want something on that last list, but it's not anything bad. The last thing you want on a psychedelic trip is a nice, even, peaceful resolution at the end. You accept yourself, you accept your psyche, you move on, you accept your perception. Don't fight your perception of that feeling sometimes. And some people are like, oh, that makes you crazy. It definitely makes you different. It separates you from the rest of the herd. If you always go back to this clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you watch what happens. So I'm going to start this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. I personally slipped enough to the point where I lined up back to where I was at before. I tried to start in the middle of a one beat and the first and second beat, so 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and I started on the and, but I still ended up on the 1 and 4. That's me personally slipping, because my perception of time is a little fucked as well. But that's what I would say to you, that man that had the drug-induced psychosis, or the recollection, the drug did what it was supposed to do, which was make it very clear to you that you have issues, unresolved issues, things that you need to do and handle and deal with better. But go back to that clock. That'll help you.